Hello, hello. How's everybody doing? So I told you I'd pretty things up. Welcome to another Tough Love Tuesday. This is one that really struck me the other day when my mother asked me, "What's wrong with the printer?" And so I went in to help her, and there was no paper in it. And I said, "Well, Mom, maybe you should check the paper, before you try to print something up," jokingly. And her response was, "I'm so stupid." And she says that a lot. And I kind of laughed and I walked away. And then I got thinking about it, and it kind of made me mad because my mother is not stupid. She's an extremely intelligent woman who, at 80 years old, still works a full time job as a bookkeeper. So she's not by any means stupid. And it got me thinking about how we talk to ourselves. And I know that I'm guilty of it, not so much as I used to be. Therapy is a wonderful thing. Y'all know I love therapy. But having that voice in your head that's saying all of the negative things, and a lot of times it's not even your voice, it's your teachers, your parents, your whomever told you these things in your formative years. Now, just to preface this again, we will be talking about disordered eating here. So if that is a huge trigger for you, please leave now. Protect yourselves if that's a huge trigger for you, because I'm going to, again, be using myself as an example. Because when it comes down to it, who the heck do you think you're talking to? You wouldn't say these things to someone that you love. You wouldn't say these things to a complete stranger. Well, you might, depending on what kind of person you are. But for me, one of the things that I used to always say to myself is, "I'm so fat." Now, most of you know me looking like this. What most of you don't know is that when I graduated from high school in 1990, yes, I'm dating myself, I weighed under 100 pounds. I'm pushing 5'9". I had an eating disorder. And it was because a lot of my life I heard how fat I was. I was never a fat child. I was never fat by any stretch of the imagination. But then that became my own words to myself. That became, "I can't do the thing because I'm too fat." Or another one is, "I'm not smart enough." Or my big one was, "I'm not as smart as Scott." Scott was my brother. And both Scott and I have extremely high IQs, but his IQ is 10 points higher than mine. And I'm not as smart as Scott, so I can't go to college. So I didn't go to college until the first time I went, I was in my 20s. The second time I went, I was in my 40s. But always, even when I went to go back in my 40s, I really probably shouldn't be doing this because I'm not as smart as Scott. Well, Scott didn't make it to 42. Actually, he passed away weeks after his 42nd birthday. So I did it for him. But I had an eating disorder. 2 years after I graduated high school, I ended up in the hospital and was diagnosed with anorexia. I was less than 95 pounds when I was diagnosed because of the way I was talking to myself, because I took all of these outside forces and made them my own. Because I got sent to modeling school when I was 16 years old and learned how to talk to myself that way. It is dangerous and you need to stop now. You don't talk to other people this way, right? Why are you talking to yourself this way? Why are any of us talking to ourselves this way? It kills your creativity. Imposter syndrome is nothing more than this exact topic. I'm not a good enough writer. Says who? What's the basis for you saying that? Have people told you that you're not a good enough writer? Probably not. So where'd you get it? Because it's not that you don't think you're a good enough writer. You just don't think you're good enough. Well, I'm here to tell you, and I wish I had a horn so I could bleep myself, but stop that, okay? Stop it now, because it will kill you. I'm looking through some of these. Okay, feels like there's a slap coming, right? Renee said it this morning. What? I'm so stupid? Stop talking to my friend that way. Jen, I know you've heard me say that. Stop talking to my friend that way. Yes, we do it to please others. Absolutely. We spend so much time playing small to please other people or to keep other people from getting mad. So we talk down to ourselves in ways that we would never talk to anybody else. And again, that is not fair to you. Also, if you have little ones at home or not so little ones, what are you teaching them? What are you teaching them? Are you setting them up for years of therapy because that is their norm, because they think that is the way you're supposed to speak to yourself? If you want to do something to please other people, start talking to yourself nicely so that your littles will think that that's the norm. Because you're not just doing damage to yourselves, you're doing damage to the people around you. If you have a spouse that loves you, do you think they're going to like to hear you call yourself stupid? A spouse, a partner, or whatever. See, Louise, this is it. A lot of times for us growing up, it was demanded. Don't say you're smart. Don't say you're talented. Do not show anybody up. It's like that. There was a video that came out recently. I think, hey, you posted it, that it was for International Women's Day. It was like, you have to be pretty, but don't be too pretty because, you'll be prettier than other girls. Be smart, but don't let anybody know you're smart, because then men might feel attacked. We're taught, especially as female presenting people, to keep ourselves small. Well, I say screw that. And so should you. Really screw that. Because you know what? Look at me now. I'm 100 pounds overweight. Yes, I need to do something about it. It's not healthy. But you know what? I'm fat. Yes, Rachel sent it to me too. That's what it was. Rachel sent it to me on Instagram. I'm fat and I own it. I own it in a way that I never owned being skinny. And I have gone out. I wish you guys could, maybe you can hear. I'll show you the pants I'm wearing. See if you can see the pants I'm wearing. See these pants? Okay. These are leggings. They're very tight. All right. I wear these out of the house, and I have had strangers, men always, come up to me and start to say, women your size, shh, stop talking and walk away. Right? And I have said that, and men get all flustered and blah, 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 because they think that they should be able to have an opinion on a woman's body. But I get women that stare at me because they don't think that someone my size should wear tight clothing. I really don't care. But there was a time when I did. There was a time when I did so much that I ended up in the hospital. That I ended up with a doctor who had to threaten to go tell my parents. I was 21 years old, but he had to threaten to go tell my parents if I didn't start eating. But he was a friend of the family, so he was allowed to do that. But This is what I'm talking about. We do not talk to, well, unless you're the guy in the grocery store that thought he could say something to me. We don't talk to strangers this way. We don't, or we shouldn't talk to our kids this way. We don't, or we shouldn't speak to our spouses or significant others this way. Why are we doing it to ourselves? Just stop. Check yourself. The next time you say, I'm so stupid, I want you to stop and say out loud, you know what? I'm not stupid. I'm one of the smartest people I know. Nobody's going to want to read my writing. I'm not a good writer. Well, how do I know nobody's going to want to read it? I haven't published it yet. Check yourselves. Check yourselves absolutely, because if we don't start doing that, I'm sorry, the robot vacuum cleaner and I have been fighting all day, banging against my door. I thought it was mom coming in, but it's the robot vacuum. If we don't start doing that, where's it going to get us? As most of the people on here, and most of the people who would be coming in on the replay, thank you. We are female presenting people. And we have enough to deal with as owners of uteruses or whatever you want to say, right? We have enough to deal with without doing it to our freaking selves. So stop. Just stop. It's like any other habit. It is going to take practice to break. I know there are people on here like myself who have quit smoking. And I'm here to tell you, this is harder than quitting smoking. I'm sorry, but it is. And I'm listening, the nerve. And yeah, you know what? No, not really. There's jerks everywhere, Inca. There's jerks everywhere. This is it. There's a difference between being a goof and being stupid. But we're also taught at a very young age that stupid is a bad word. That you shouldn't call people stupid, but then we're taught to call ourselves stupid. Right? So stop. Stop right freaking now, as Matt Schaefer would say. It's not going to be easy. It's the same as saying sorry all the time. You've got nothing to apologize for. Unless you do. Unless you hurt somebody either intentionally or unintentionally. Sorry doesn't mean anything unless you mean it. And God forbid you should mean it if you didn't do anything wrong. But you have to stop. If it's like any other addiction, it's hard to stop. If you can't do it for yourself, I'm going to give you the same advice that I've given to clients who are addicts, because I did work in the addictions field. If you can't do it for yourself at first, do it for somebody else you love. Do it for your kids. Do it for your spouse. Do it for your significant other, because it's only going to make your relationships better. Because trust me, having children around, when you treat yourself that way, they're like little sponges. They suck everything up. And if you don't know that, they listen to everything. They listen to everything. And when they're in that, 7 to 10 year range, they're emulating you, because that's how they learn. And we don't want to do this to our children. We don't want to do this to our children, because then that's just a big therapy bill for them when they get to be our age. So please, please stop doing this to yourself. Mothers, don't be that voice. Exactly, Kay. Exactly. And yeah, I bumped into the wall coming out of the bathroom this morning and said sorry. So that's definitely a Canadian thing. You know what, Sako? You've got that. Don't apologize for existing. Don't apologize for taking up space. Don't tell yourself you don't deserve to take up that space. Don't tell yourself you have to play small. But how do you stop? Like I said, it's a you know what? Employ your husband, Diane. If you're one of those people that says, "I'm still stupid," then you go to when this is done, go to your husband and say, "If those words come out of my mouth, I want you to stop me." And then you start doing reprogramming yourself. "I'm so stupid, honey." Don't say that about yourself. You're right. I'm one of the smartest people I know. I'm an excellent artist. I have 2 YouTube channels and look at me go. Start praising yourself because you can't just stop doing it. You have to reprogram yourself. Okay? But oh, Diane, you're some flippin' lucky I wasn't there because I'd have taken you to task so quick. So you go to your husband and you tell him, the next time you hear me say, "I'm an idiot," I want you to stop me. But then you have to verbally correct yourself because that's how this got implanted in your brain was by somebody else verbally saying it to you. Okay? It does. It takes time to break a habit. And yes, you have to do the reprogramming. It's absolutely essential. And if you're not like me, where I am at the point where I can catch myself when I'm saying something negative and correct myself, but that's something I've always been good at. I have not had to employ anyone else to stop me. But if you can employ someone else to stop you, get your kids involved because it's a really good life skill for them to have because they're going to hear it outside of your house too. I mean, they're not going to, if you stop doing it to yourself, it's not going to magically make them not have this going on when they get older because they'll hear it from other sources. You can't control it, right? But yes, you absolutely need to do the programming. There you go. There you go. That's good. That's good, Diane. But you need to start with the reprogramming. And it needs to come out of your mouth, not his. Right? So he shouldn't be saying to you, don't say that to yourself because, I mean, he can, but it needs to come out of your mouth because it's what's running in your head. Okay? This is work you got to do for yourself. All right? There you go. There you go. I'm so glad. I am so glad that your Hubbers calls you on it. Yes. Right? And this is it. This is it. It's kind of like, I mean, I know that a lot of us here have a really good grasp on like I don't want to say the secret because that's so incomplete, but quantum physics, aka the law of attraction. If you say these things to yourself, it's kind of like you have to go to an event. You don't really want to go. And you're saying to yourself for days in advance, this is going to suck. And then you go and it sucks. Why does it suck? Because your brain is looking for reasons for it to suck. Because you've trained your brain to think it's going to suck. Right? Right? So it's about the first step is stop it. Just stop it. Whether you can do that for yourself or you need some help, stop it. And then the reprogramming starts. That's when the reprogramming starts. The stopping is the hard part. And I'm sorry, gang, and I'm just going to say this. I don't care how silly you think you're going to feel by saying this stuff out loud. It's too freaking important for you to let feelings of, oh, what's somebody going to think get in the way. Now, I'm not saying do it in the middle of the grocery store. Maybe wait until you get out to the car. But if you're home surrounded by the people that you trust, it needs to come out of your mouth. You need to hear it. Okay? I'm glad you were here for it, Diane. I really, really am. It's absolutely practice. Absolutely. This is perfect, Kay. This is perfect. Am I really stupid or do I just feel that way? Because you're not stupid. None of us are stupid, right? You know what, Rita? Maybe it's time for you to have that conversation with your hubby and say, I need you to not ignore this. I need you to stop me when I start so that I can correct the behavior. You're retraining yourself because you were trained to do this. So now you have to retrain yourself to not do it. Think about it in terms of an injury. Okay. Now, speaking as someone who was car number 2 in a 5-car pileup and walked away from it, but it left me with thoughts of what if. And it got me into a conversation with a client I had who was in a wheelchair. She could walk, but not well and not often. And for her, she had an accident as well. She had a really bad climbing accident. And it was like, here I was, and I had this injury. I was, 20 some years old, lived a great life, was very active, had this injury, and now I have to retrain myself to be active again. She had become a wheelchair racer. She had a cool wheelchair with the, it was awesome. I used to go to her races, but so she had to retrain herself. She had been here, had this injury, and had to retrain. Right? And it had to look different than it did before. You see what I mean? It has to look different than it did before because you've had an injury. Right? Your psyche was injured. Your id, your ego, everything had been injured by this negative self-talk. Right? Maybe you need to stop him, Renee. Maybe you need to stop him. Right? But that should be a trigger for you to stop yourself and say, okay, because being fat is a fact. It's not like being stupid or not being smart enough because that's all relative, right? Being fat's a fact. When you are overweight, you are overweight. But Renee, you are working your butt off to not be. Okay, you know what? I'm fat, but I'm active. I might have a few extra pounds on me, but I'm working my butt off to not be in this position. There's your retraining, right? Maybe your husband needs to be doing that too. You're not, I am. So he's trying to deflect, first of all, your self-negativity. Bravo to him, but he's taking it for himself, and that's not good. That's not good. And if there's kids listening, that's a slippery slope. That's a slippery slope for another day. But I invite you now to find something that works for you where you are going to stop and reprogram. It's simple but not simple, you know what I mean? It's a 2-step process. Learn to stop. Either you can do it on your own or you need an outside source to help you. Okay? Then you need to reprogram. If you need to sit down with pen and paper, come on, we're all writers here. If you need to sit down with pen and paper and write down, this is the negative thing that you say about yourself, and here's what and then you're gonna flip the script. Right? Jenna, you know what I'm talking about. Flip the script, right? And Kay, that was something that we were taught here recently in the coaching course that we took. Flip the script. Here's what I'm saying negative about myself. Here's what I need to change it to. If you have to write it down and carry it around in your back pocket, do it. Do whatever it takes to stop, because you need to stop, and you need to stop now. Right? You need to tell him that that's not what you need. You need to tell him that it's not what you need. It's as simple as that. There's time to enjoy junk food, absolutely, but not if every day if you're trying to lose weight. But you need to tell him that you need, and you don't need him to stop you. You need to stop you. He can't do this for you. This is kind of like the conversation we had last Tuesday. But the reminder would be nice. Even if it is something as simple as, babe, are you sure you want to eat that? As long as he's not condescending about it and you've had this conversation, and, be very frank, be very specific with them. Say, look, if you see me reaching for that bag of chips, I want you to say these words. Right? And if he triggers you by saying those words, then obviously there's something else there you need to work on, because he's doing what you asked him to do, right? But I mean, enjoy the junk foods, just not every day, right? Because you're trying and you're working and you're doing awesome. You're doing awesome. But as I said, I invite you, hey, Emma, we're just wrapping up here, so you might want to watch on the replay. I invite you to find something that works for you, okay? Because you're absolutely worth it. And you don't need those voices in your head. They're not yours, most likely. Most likely, because you know what? Kids don't wake up one morning and think, I'm fat. It's like most people don't wake up in the morning and decide they're going to be an addict. It's a set of extenuating circumstances that happened to you, most likely at a very young age, that started this playing in your head, because you are not stupid. Okay? You're not a bad writer. You might be overweight, but you're doing something about it, right? So please, I would love to hear from you guys if you find something that works for you. I would love to hear from you. I got some feedback from last week, and it was amazing. It made me all gushy and teary and junk. And I love hearing back from you guys. So you have my email address, and listen, take care of yourselves. Okay? You're so worth it. You're so worth it. Brace yourselves for next week. Okay? Brace yourselves for next week, because yeah. Listen, love you. Love you to bits. I'll see you next Tuesday.